Wait, my mic wasn't turned on at all, and nobody told me. Oh my, oh god. Well. So, what I was saying was, I'm gonna start with a breakdown of the sequence project file, and then I'm gonna answer some questions. And then afterwards, I'm going to remake this project from scratch to kind of show you the whole production process and basically like my entire thought process that goes into making an idea or making a song. So if anybody has like questions throughout the stream, then feel free to ask them. And I'm also gonna go and spam the Chillsynth Discord link, actually. So if you want to join, that's a Discord I'm in. There's a lot of people from the scene of music that are in this Discord. So we just hang out and talk about VSTs and hardware synths and stuff. So if you want to join that, that'd be great. Okay, let's see if I can open a sequence, and then this can go. Save this, and then I'm gonna play some home in the background while the project file is loading up. It's kind of a bigger project, so it takes a while to load up, I think. Also, if you're here, you can check out my Twitter, because there's a post about a cassette release that's coming up. Let's see. Next week on Saturday. It's the Glow EP cassette. So if you're interested in buying that, then you should check out my socials. Okay, for people that haven't heard Sequence yet, or maybe you forgot what it sounds like, this is what that sounds like. It sounds a bit off for me. I think that's my Sound ID reference. Hold up. Let me change it to this. There we go. Is that a bit loud, actually? Was that loud? Because I didn't check. It's loud. Okay. What about this? I need to check some audio settings. Give me like a second. That's not what I wanted. This may be what I want. No, okay, fine. Yeah. So I'm just gonna start off with where I started off with the song, which is the main lead. So I can make new audio track. This lead came straight from the Cork prologue, actually. This was around the time I like kind of got that synthesizer. It was kind of new, so I wanted to play around with it a little bit and see what I could come up with. And I found out that this synthesizer is really good at making these really kind of odd sounding leads. And this is what I played. Let's delete the volume automation. There you go. And then by taking that recording and then just chopping it up, you can kind of create a different melody. And this is something that I used to do a lot when I made drum and bass. So when you just kind of chop up samples. So this is something that I did here, and it felt good to do it again. And the result actually sounded quite nice. So I was really happy with what it sounds like chopped up. And then on its own, it sounds quite dull. There's not really anything interesting going on in the lead. It's a little bit how you say it, empty, I guess. So let's take a look at the processing chain. Let's make everything a bit smaller because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Awesome. So the first thing I did was add a phaser flanger. This phaser actually. And this one is automated. You can kind of automate the center here in Ableton. And that makes for a kind of like, you can kind of create your own movement with the phaser, which is quite cool. So you're not really relying on an LFO to do the movement. So you can just kind of do it yourself, which is quite cool. So by adding the phaser, we get this. Whoops. So it's especially these parts where the phaser really kind of goes in. Then we have a limiter that's just kind of taking care of some peaks. They're in the. This is an audio effect rack, which basically splits up the audio into a dry and a wet signal. The wet signal here is mainly the reverb, and what this is mainly Valhalla Shimmer. This is just the default options and just the mix turn up to 100%, just to kind of isolate that reverb. That's going through a kilohertz pitch shifter to raise it 1 octave. And then that would sound like this. Whoops. Wait, I can't do that, yeah? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I see why. Okay. What am I doing? Okay. The reason why I'm doing this is that together with the main lead, it instantly makes the lead sound a lot bigger. It just kind of adds like almost like an underlying pad, so you don't really have to go in and make like a separate pad. I'm taking out the low end because I don't want to have any issues with my bass. That's going through a Serum FX instance where it's being filtered with a 4-man filter, just to kind of give it that vocal-y sound. And that's going through Soothe, which apparently isn't doing anything at all. I don't know why. I don't know why this is on here then. And then we've got an EQ, which is really just kind of doing this. Or it's supposed to do that, but I took off the LFO that's on there, so we can't really, we don't really have any movement in there, but this is supposed to kind of move around a bit, just to kind of widen it a bit. Yeah, the kilohertz plugins are free, like they have like an essential bundle that's now free, and they are really good. They're really good effects, and they're quite light on the CPU as well, from my experience. So those are definitely worth checking out. So the audio effect rack with the reverb. So that instantly gives that lead like an extra layer of atmosphere. That's going through an RC20 where I'm doing a little bit of wobble and a bit of distortion. That's going through a EQ again, just to take out some low end. That's going through Soothe, which is actually doing something right now. We have a limiter again, just to make sure we don't have any peaks. That's going through an EQ again to boost the high end a little bit. This is a Sidechain instance of Soothe. Then there is another Soothe, which I think I'm using as like an automation, which I'm using with automation. And then I have a frequency shifter from Ableton, which is a really cool effect. If you enable a frequency shifter just a little bit at like 50% and you fine tune it slightly, it kind of creates this really cool movement effect. So that's what I've been using in a lot of songs recently. Sometimes it's a really cool effect. That's going through utility where I'm just very slightly boosting it a little bit, and then just to finish things off, it's going through a flanger, which is automated here at towards the second variation in the main part, where I've just kind of chopped it up a little bit different. I felt like if you have a song like this where the lead is just taking up a really like large portion of the song, you need to really kind of make sure that you process it in a way so that it sounds big. It's supposed to sound big, especially when it's like the main element, because when we listen to it here, you can really just hear the bass and then the lead, and then somewhere in there is like a counter melody. I think I need to take down the limiter actually. Yeah. I used to have some clippers on some channels, but I had to get rid of them because I don't have the VSTs anymore. So, then we have, what's this? Okay, so this is just kind of a lead in the intro. And I think this one is the same preset as the main lead, but it's just doing a different melody. And then you can hit that frequency shifter effect again, which I've used a couple of times. This is quite an interesting sound. This is really interesting with effects and without it, so it's really annoying. So that's going through Valhalla Shimmer, and then the frequency shifter, which you could hear, and then that's going through delay, and that kind of gives it this really cool effect, I think here, kind of. Which is pretty neat. Then we have this sound at the start of the song. And the main reason I have that in here is kind of like the if you were able to somehow introduce the main melody of the song at the start, it kind of gives people something to hang on to. So when that main melody comes in again, they immediately, or they should recognize it, or hopefully recognize it. I think that's a tip I saw on the Fox Stevenson live stream one time. So I want to try that out in this song, and I believe it did kind of work. We have a bass that goes along with the intro melody. Let me just boost that a bit. It's just a really simple mini V instance. It's literally just a square and a saw going through a filter. It's really not that special, and then it just has like a longer release just to make it blend into the rest of the intro. Then we have kind of like a pad that starts building up in the build-up, which is just a little bit of a generic pad, I feel, but it just kind of adds a little bit of atmosphere in the intro. Let me start that again. So that pad is just kind of there to give a bit of atmosphere. This is something I used to do a lot in earlier songs, where I just have this like build up that's a little bit like monotone almost, and then it starts to get a little bit more interesting towards like the main part. Let's see, what else do we have in the intro? We have some ARPs. So this is an ARP where basically what I tried to do is I took like an ARP that goes up from here all the way here, but then before it's always like one note less. So first you have one note, then you have two notes, then you have three, then you have four, then you have five, then you have 6, 7, and then that just repeats. And that kind of sounded interesting to me. And that's just a Prophet V instance with 2 saw waves, a bit detuned, and that's just going through a low pass filter to make it into like an ARP plucky sound. All of that is going through a very similar processing chain as what I did on the main lead, so I'm not going to go too much into it. It's just mainly some reverb, some delay, and then a bunch of like let's see, there's some shimmer again, RC20 phaser or flanger, and then we have this counter melody that kind of comes in after a while. And that's an SEM instance. This is kind of, I think this is a preset I got from like a Comtru's tutorial on, can't remember which website it is, but you can probably find it. This is a really classic like Comtru's sound. That's going through a reverb. I'm using FabFilter's reverb here, and then that's also going through a filter delay from Ableton, and that's just going through RC20, just a little bit of lossy, a compressor, and an EQ. And then this, oh yeah, this used to be Massive, but I don't use Massive anymore. This used to be like the Paradise Bell preset, which should sound like this. It was the same preset. I just kind of, sometimes I throw in that little, like some sounds from earlier songs, just as a little bit of a nod towards those like those first songs, I guess. I think that's mainly it for the intro. We took a look at the lead already, so let's take a look at the bass. Bass is quite cool in this song. It's got kind of a phaser effect on it. So the way you get the sound is quite easy. I started off with two teaching saw waves. Let's take off the phase for a bit. This gives you quite like a really generic saw wave bass. Vital is really good, by the way, because it's completely free and it's really extensive. And it's pretty much as good as Serum in my opinion. And it's completely free, so this is definitely a must-have. Anyway, if you take that kind of generic sounding saw wave and you add a noise on top, in this case it's a brown noise, that immediately kind of spices things up a bit. And then if you run that through, in this case a phaser, you kind of get that kind of like a vocal effect almost. And then if you put a velocity on it, because I think it's this, which I don't know what this, or is it the offset? Oh, it's the center. The center is being automated or modulated by the velocity. So what you can do is you can go in and then you can change the velocity of the notes to just kind of accent some of the notes. So for example, if you want to accent this one, I can turn this velocity up, maybe this one as well. And then you get kind of this. And for the most part, it's not really doing anything. And then in these parts towards like the end of 4 bars or 8 bars or whatever, it just kind of goes up in velocity just to give those bass notes a little bit of an accent. Let's take a look what this sounds like without any processing on it. So that's mainly just kind of enhancing the high end a little bit. So this is just some basic, just a bit of basic multi-band compression going on. It's a preset from ProMB. I added one again afterwards, especially in this low end, because I found that the low end was a little bit too long sometimes. There was a little bit of noise there that was kind of annoying, which I took away with the high band on the multi-band compressor. Then we have Soothe, which is just kind of getting rid of some resonating frequencies in there. We've got an EQ which takes out some of the bass towards like the end of the first half. Just kind of makes it transition a little bit better into a different part. I'm running it through a disperser, which is a phase shifting tool. Yeah, the phaser really does a lot for the sound in this song. So it does kind of sound a little bit high passed, but it's what makes this the sound, the bass. I mean, this is what makes the bass sound have that like very specific sound. This is disperser, which I could probably put an all pass in here, which is pretty much the same effect, and then because I actually use that one more, so I'm actually used to it more. It almost sounds like a laser this way, and basically what all pass does is it like shifts the phasing of certain frequencies, and that's really interesting because what you can do is you can, for example, take an 808 kick. Whoops. I don't know if the clap is the same as in the lute. I think the clap, we haven't looked at drums yet, but I can take a look. Where is it? I don't even know where it is. Is it here? Yeah, this is just a DMX clap. I don't know if this is the one I used in a lute as well. I don't know. It could be, but I think if you filter a clap, most claps are going to sound very similar if you low pass them. So if I take an 808 kick like this, Where is it? Let's make it a bit longer, a bit quieter. So if I take an 808 kick like this, and then I put an all-pass effect on it, all-pass filter actually, and I'm just going to exaggerate the effect. It almost sounds like a trance kick. And when you let's copy this, and then I'm just going to freeze and flatten this so we have a sample. So if we compare that to the original 808, you can kind of see that the frequencies are just kind of being shifted all over the place. And I think it's mainly the low end that gets shifted. I'm not actually entirely sure exactly what it does, but I know it shifts frequencies. And if you really exaggerate it, it sounds really kind of like a laser. But if you use it just very slightly, you can take like a boring 808 kick and make it sound really punchy. To me, this sounds like very, very interesting. It sounds a lot more interesting than an 808 kick. And this is the same effect as disperser. Disperser is really just an all-pass filter. This is a open source plugin, which I think is on GitHub. I think I found it on GitHub. Yeah. There it is. So this is the one that I'm using. It doesn't have a user interface, I think, or at least I haven't found it yet. So I'm just using the controls here. But it's the exact same effect as disperser, and disperser costs money, and this is free. So that's what's being applied on the bass, very slightly. Just kind of makes it a bit more punchy, I feel. Just very, very slightly. This was being clipped, but I don't have this VST yet anymore, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And that's going through a hybrid reverb, just to make it a little bit wider, and that was then going through an Ozone imager to make it a bit more wide, I think, but I upgraded to Ozone 9, so I don't have this anymore. That's going through a split EQ, which I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's pretty much it's an EQ that splits the tonal and the transient information. So if we listen to just transients, so you get the transients only, and then if you listen to tonal only, just get the rest of it. Gets rid of the transients, and you can EQ both of these differently. You can even pan them differently. But what I did is I just took these frequencies in the attack and just kind of boosted them a bit, just to make them a little bit more snappy. And then in the tone, I enhanced the low end, and that's it for the EQ. And then that's running through just the final Pro MB. I think I just kind of threw this on here towards the end. There's something that you'll find quite often when I'm making music, is that my processing chains are not efficient at all. But that's okay, because when I'm working on an Ableton project, I'm not here to make things efficient and make things easier for my CPU. I just want to make music, So I'm not going to be bothering with the fact that I have maybe 3 or 4 EQs on a sound, because that's just kind of part of the different phases of the production of the song. This is a Shepard stone. Oh, I tried to do a Shepard stone. For people that don't know what a Shepard's tone is, it's basically like an infinitely rising sound. I hope there's no ads, please. Okay. So the idea is that there's different tones that are rising, and then when it gets really, really high, it just kind of fades off, and then one in the low end comes in, and this creates this infinite rising sound. And this was also used on the Super Mario 64 staircase that just keeps going up. if you pay close attention, you can kind of hear the loop a little bit, but it usually works quite well. There's also used in some movies, like in this case, well, there you go, an ad in Dunkirk. It was used. I tried doing it in here as well. I'm not really sure if I succeeded, so I don't know. You can kind of hear it loop a little bit, so I'm not sure if it really works out, but maybe in solo it does. I don't know. It does kind of work a little bit. I think I probably could have done a better job, but I just found it quite difficult to do with these sounds. I don't know why specifically. All of these are, by the way, just running through RC20 in EQ and then just some reverb and delay. Maybe, I don't know if it works in the final mix, but let's have a look. I think it kind of sounds cool. I tried doing it. There's a cat in my room, by the way. Oh, he just left. I think he just came in to say hi. But yeah, this is just something I want to try out. Sometimes I find these like really fun and cool concepts where I'm just like, okay, let's see if I can use this in a song. If it doesn't work, fine. Didn't lose anything, but just a little bit of time. So just try it out, see what it sounds like, and it sounded cool. So if you ever find like a really cool concept in music or a sound design or anything, just try it out in a song. It might actually sound really cool, and that's what I did here. And then I think that's it for those parts. And then in the breakdown, we just have a bit of chords going on. So look. So this is just coming from the Prophet V. It's, let's see, it's 2 square waves and a saw wave, and that's just running through, again, low pass filter, which is like, you know, kind of a little bit of a tag, and then quite a long decay, and it just makes these really smooth chords. My cat just came in again. I think he's gonna have a sleep on my carpet. So that's running through Valhalla Shimmer again with the same processing chain as the lead, with like Valhalla Shimmer and the pitch shifter and that sort of stuff. And that sounds like this. Just instantly makes it sound really wide and gives it a lot of atmosphere. And that's running through a Sooth, which I'm using as a sidechain, which is sidechain with number 14, which is this lead, which I'll take a look at in a second. And then just a limiter, just to catch some peaks. That's being accompanied by the same lead as the main lead again, but just playing a different melody. And this is just a preset in Repro 5. This, I didn't design the sound at all. I just took a preset, sounded nice. I think it's perfectly okay to use presets if they sound nice, and if it does what you want them to do, then it's all okay. And then I think most of the reverb is done in repro in this case. Yeah, so those are two synths, and I actually used the bottom one on the song, and I'm gonna be using the top one on a new song that I'm gonna be doing after the breakdown. Most of the lead stuff came from the chord prologue for this song. And then in this second half of the song, I kind of replaced the main lead with this one in Maiden Prophet. No, actually, that's just the atmosphere effect. This is also from the chord prologue. It sounds a bit different than the main lead compared to... Oh. And then what I did in this part is just to kind of add a little bit of a different atmosphere is just use this Prophet instance, which is just running through Valhalla Shimmer again. I used a ton of Shimmer on this project, which is going through most of the other processing that we've seen before on the main lead and some of the other lead elements. And this just kind of creates this like higher atmosphere, I guess. It sounds really neat, in my opinion. And then from the main lead, I think I took down... Oh, this is where that Sooth instance, I think is turned up a little bit more. Really like what I did with the atmosphere and the leads on this song. Valhalla Shimmer really came in strong. Yeah, I showed a new song at the start actually, and I'm going to be remaking it from scratch when I'm done with the breakdown and answer some questions. Yeah, I'm really smart, Jasmine. I think that's it for the melodic elements. We can take a look at the drums now. Those are always really fun. So, drums in the song are quite simple. There's not really too many layers going on. One of the things I noticed over time was that I kind of started making things a little bit too complicated in the drums sometimes, and in this song I just kind of wanted to keep things simple. I think it works really well with this song. I think both of the hi-hats that I have, they complement each other really well, and they just kind of fill up the space really nicely, so it never really felt like I needed to add anything more. So the for the drums, it's a kick from the Chillwave sample pack. It's called Kick Drive, Chillwave 2. And then that's being layered with a kick from the Come True sample pack. So when you stack them up, they sound quite nice. They sound really powerful, really low, that's what I like. And then both of these just being EQ'd a little bit. And then just kind of pushing them through an EQ together. Taking down this region a little bit because it sounded too clicky. And then I'm using a transient shape just to boost the attack just a tiny bit. And there's a utility here just for when I need it. Oh yeah, and then the snare is also from a Chillwave sample pack. It's a snare flow, which sounds like this. And what I'm doing for that snare is pushing it through a transient shaper and using a little bit of ShaperBox to take off some of the tail. Somehow, like, not somehow, sometimes I just go in and instead of changing like the sample itself like this, I just use ShaperBox. It's just kind of a little bit more lazy. But in Ableton, you can't select multiple samples and then edit them the same way at the same time, which you can do in Logic. And I really hope that Ableton adds that feature one day. But in this case, I'm just using ShaperBox or Volume Shape, which is a volume automation tool. As you can see, it just kind of takes down the volume a little bit in that tail. I just felt like it was a bit too long if I didn't add the ShaperBox. So kick and snare together. Sounds quite punchy, and then we just add the hi-hats, which in this case is also from the Chillwave sample pack. I think this is kind of like a 909 open hi-hat. Sounds like it. I just chopped up the sample a little bit. Yeah, I guess I can consolidate and then replace, but I mean, ShaperBox, it's so much faster. These are just some hi-hats that I chopped up, just to give them a little bit of movement. Took out some low end. That's a very tiny amount of low end. I don't know if it really matters, but you know. And then I have these hi-hats, which are, I think, from Deadmau5 sample pack, which I got years ago. This one is called Chillwave 3 by Sample Magic, I think. Yeah, it's on Splice. I don't know if you can still buy it separately, but it's definitely on Splice. Lots of cool samples. Sample Magic has some pretty cool sample packs if you're into like this kind of music. They also have some great French house sample packs, I think. So these hi-hats, they have a little bit of reverb in them already, and that just kind of fills the space. I think if I took out these hi-hats with the drums, they sound really empty. So they do a whole lot. I'm using Soothe. They sound a little bit metallic without Soothe. You can hear that like metallic ringing. And then when you add Soothe, it just softens that metallic ringing. And I really like using Soothe on hi-hats when they sound metallic. It's such a useful tool. Hi Andy. What's up? I'm doing the music stream now. That's running through Valve Compressor. Just standard. Nothing, like, it's just literally the default preset. I don't know why it's running through an EQ again, to be honest, but I mean, maybe there was some low end that I want to get rid of. Running through a limiter just to kind of limit those transient peaks just a tiny bit, and that's running through a utility where I bent them to the left a bit because they were, like, by default they were quite they were panned towards the right quite a lot. So just to put them a little bit more in the center. All of this is going through a Valve compressor, which I really like. And then a Pro Q, where I just took out some of this. Whoopsies. That's a Pro MB, where I just took care of the low end a little bit. And then we have a Pro C. I think this is doing... Yeah, so this is dry wet at 6%. So it's a very tiny amount of compression. that's going through a transient shaper where I'm just giving it a bit more sustain, taking back a little bit of attack. And then there's this washout thing that I downloaded from, I think, Cymatics once, where you can just increase this and it like washes out the reverb a bit. Which I think is used here. Oh, and then I also forgot there's these fast hi-hats, which is something that I kind of copied from Memorex Memories, to be honest, in this song. Memorex Memories does that in some of his songs. I'm sure we can find something, I think. There it is. So these really, really fast hi-hats, and I always thought that sounded really, really cool, and nobody else really did it, I think. And Memorex Memories has just such good hi-hats and high-end. And I just kind of wanted to replicate that effect in this portion of the song. And it just kind of speeds up the song a little bit. Like, it gives the song a lot more speed all of a sudden. Wait, did I disable the reverb? Oh, I did. And then for the mastering, for this song I didn't really do a lot in the master channel. And something I like to do is like not adding too much stuff in the master channel. Mainly doing most of the stuff in the mix. So that for me is like the way to go. You can't really I don't know if you can really fix like a really bad mix in your master channel. There's only so much you can do. So I like to do things in the mix as much as possible. I'm not sure if Sooth is really doing anything at this point. Oh yeah, it is. Just very slight amount. I might need to start using Sooth less. I am actually using Sooth a lot less these days, but this was kind of when Sooth was a bit new to me, so I just kind of used it a bit too much maybe. A little bit of EQing going on, and that's going through a match EQ, where I think this is the song that it's EQ matching to. I think that's where I took the EQ from. I'm not sure. I just think that makes sounds really clean. So just adding a little bit of EQ matching can do quite a lot here. And then that's just running through a Pro L, and it's the clipping preset that they have. I don't think you can really hear too much clipping going on. I mean, I had clipping before on the drums and the bass, so that would probably make this Pro L's job a little bit easier at that point, but because I got rid of those clippers, I just kind of need to adjust this bit. So this Pro L isn't actually what it is like. Isn't actually doing what it did in the original project. But Pro L is just to increase the loudness, really. And I don't know how loud the song is. It's not super loud. I don't like making my songs too loud. So have a look. Just like between -9 and -10, which is, to me, is fine. I don't want to compress too much. So for me, that's fine. And then there's one more thing, I think. Oh yeah, and this is kind of a little bit of a classic chill synth sound. And then you can hear again kind of that phaser, which I used on some of the sounds in the song. This is really just 2 square waves. It's nothing too special here. And then what I'll do is I'll actually explain the sidechaining that I do, because I use ShaperBox to do sidechaining in the song, and I'm going to explain why I use ShaperBox and not the sound compressor in Ableton. In order to do that, I need to resample a kick really quickly. So I'll just do that. Let's take master as my input. Postfix. Let's record that kick. Whoopsies. Maybe I should do this. There it is. So, got the kick. Let's take a look. Let's duplicate this kick twice, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the high end and the low end. Yeah, phases can sound really cool, and if you add them to like every sound, or very close to every sound, it kind of gives the song kind of like an identity, where the phaser is like part of the sound design so much, it kind of has like a phaser characteristic. So that can be cool. And I'm going to split this like this, and I'm going to freeze both of these, and I'm going to flatten them. So we have the samples. And then basically what we have is we have the high end or the low end. Doesn't sound perfect, doesn't sound exactly the same. There might be some phasing issues here, but it's just really to demonstrate. Basically, if I have, say, for example, let's just get a pad sample really quickly. Maybe like a Lensman pad, because I haven't used that sample pack in forever. Perfect. So let's just imagine that this is like the main music group, right? So usually what you'll do with like more standard compression is, let's just duplicate this like, I don't know, 4 times. What you'll do with standard compression is we need to get rid of the low end. So when we look at the low end of our kick, it's quite long. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have a sidechain that kind of looks a little bit like this. Right, and that makes sense because we got this long low end, we want to make room for it, so we take out as much as possible. Right, so if we look at this, kind of makes sense, right? But when we do it with the high end, we can see the high end is actually much shorter. The main choose of the high end is really short. I see a lot of new people in here, and I just want to say thank you. There's a lot of new people here. First time chatters. No, I know I'm not really responding to too many comments. I'm just trying to focus, and but thank you so much for people that said they like my music and stuff. I'm gonna open up the stream for questions after this. I have some questions written down from Twitter and Discord, so you can ask the question. Then I'll try to explain as much as possible. So anyway, this is what you would do for the length of the sidechain, because we need to account for the low end of the kick. But the high end of the kick is much shorter. So now all of a sudden this sidechain doesn't actually make any sense anymore because it's way too long. So you get this really obvious like bumping sound in your sidechain. So then you would kind of shorten it, maybe like this. Sounds a lot better, but now we have the problem where the low end is too long and we get phasing issues in the low end. So what ShaperBox allows you to do is it allows you to split the sound into up to 3 different bands. I'm using 2 in this case because I find that 2 is already quite enough. And what I'm doing is I'm sidechaining the low end with a longer amount than the high end. The low end is, in this case, only 200 Hertz. So in 200 hertz, you don't have too much information or musical information. But in the high end, we have like 19,800 hertz left, and that has all the musical information. So in this high end, you need to make sure that the sidechain sounds correct the way you want it to sound, because that's where the musical information is. So that pumping sound of the high end is that pumping sound that we know from standard sidechain compression is happening in the high end, and that gives you that sense of that pump because that's where all the information is. What you can do with something like ShaperBox is, what I could do here is I could shorten the high end, and it would still be fine. It would still be okay. There would be no issues because, like we just saw, the high end of the kick is much shorter than the low end. So we can actually get away with like a really short high end sidechain and then a longer low end sidechain, just because we want to make sure that there's no phasing issues. You can use, like, I'm not saying that this is like a better way of doing sidechaining. This is just the way I like to do sidechaining. If you use the standard compressor or the glue compressor in Ableton to do sidechaining, and it sounds the way you want it to sound, then that's perfect. That means you don't have to go out and buy a VST to do sidechaining. You always want to use the tools to get you the desired result. So if your result is, I want a pumping sidechain, then, well, just use the standard compressor because it does that really well. If you want to have a little bit more of a tight sidechain, then something like this makes more sense because this gives you a lot more control. Again, I'm not saying this is better. I'm just saying, like, figure out what all the different tools are and then just use the one that you like the most. And that's basically how I do most of my sidechaining. When I'm coming up with an idea, and you'll see this in the song that I'm working on in a bit, I like to use a standard Ableton compressor because it just gives me a really quick result. Like, it just, like, immediately I have a sidechain, and that means I can continue with the rest of my song, basically. Let's take a look. Whoopsie. Okay, so I'm gonna do the questions now, and that means that I need to go in stream, I think. Yeah, I'm just gonna put this in the background, and I'm gonna answer some questions. So if you have any questions, you can just ask them now. You can always have 2 channels with compressor and EQ each end, but ShaperBox for me would be more convenient. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, it will get you the same result, but ShaperBox might be, like, visually it's just a little bit easier. Do you have any favorite starting? Oh, how I start new ideas? Usually with, like, chords. Just come up with the chord progression. That usually is able to kind of put me in a, like, creative place, I guess. When did I start? I started in when I was 15. I'm 27 now, so I'm kind of old. I started 11 years ago. I made drum and bass for like 7 years, and then I started making music as Voyage. So so I'm just gonna go through these questions a bit. So Adam in Discord asked my thoughts on synth processing and arrangement. I'll go over that when I'm working on the new song in a bit. This is kind of the same question. Difference for me between working with hardware synths and software. It's actually quite simple. Software synths are so much better than hardware synths because they have so many more features. They're a lot cheaper. You can run as many of them as your computer can handle. So software synths are amazing. But the problem with software synths that you don't have with hardware synths is that there's almost no involvement with the actual instrument. It's the same thing as me listening on Spotify now. It's really easy, it's quick. I pay $10 a month and I can listen to all the music in the world, however much I want, wherever I am. But when I buy a song on vinyl, I have to go through different steps to be able to actually listen to the song. And that means that when listening to a song on vinyl, you're so much more involved with the process. And it's the same thing with a hardware synthesizer. Hardware synthesizers are so much more expensive than software synths. They don't have as many features. It's annoying. You have to record them in audio, and then there's like background noise that you need to take care of, and all of that stuff. So annoying, but it makes working with hardware synths a lot more involved. And it's like an actual physical instrument in front of you that you can just touch, and it's a lot of fun to play with. And another thing that I like is that if you want to use a sound from your hardware synth, you have to record it in audio. So that means that once you've recorded it, that's what you have to use. You can do a whole bunch of processing on it if you want. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you're stuck with the recording, and that makes you make decisions a lot faster, in my opinion. Let's see. What made you want to start with Voyage? The main reason I started with Voyage was because drum and bass made me feel like I was constantly focusing on the production quality of the songs. And with Voyage music, I felt like the level of production, like the bar of production level, was lower in that genre. So that freed up so much more time and space to just make music instead of sitting there and, you know, constantly decompressing a snare and sidechaining a bass and all that stuff. It was just so annoying after a while. And I felt like the songs I made, just, they weren't interesting songs from a musical standpoint. From a production standpoint, they weren't the best either, in my opinion. So I just, after a while, I just didn't enjoy that process anymore. And the music I make now means that I can just lay back in terms of like production quality. I still sometimes use more like modern production techniques like clipping and the ShaperBox sidechain we just looked at. But it's kind of, Voyage allows me to kind of have a balance between being interested in production and trying new things and trying to push myself there, but then on the other end I still have so much time and room to actually make music. How many songs do you try to produce regularly? I make music when I feel like making music, and then when I do, I just try to make something. And if it sounds good, then it sounds good, I will continue. If it sounds bad, I will toss it away and then start something new. I always try to make a new idea at least every week. So like a good idea. Which song was your favorite to make and what inspired you to make it? I think my favorite to make was Paradise, because it was the first time I knew when I was making Paradise that I really wanted to finish it. It sounded really, really cool to me. And what inspired me was Emil Rotmeyer. His song Wave is what inspired Paradise, and I think if you listen to Wave and then listen to Paradise, you can immediately tell that was the inspiration. How do you break out of being too boring with drums, kick and hi-hats and snare? I think we can look at that when we work on the song in a bit. Would be cool to go into industry, maybe going into various ways to promote and monetize music. I'll do that at the end of the question thingy. What's your relationship with theory composition? Do you have anything doing in terms of composition? I don't actually know anything about music theory at all. So I don't really have any relationship with it. I just start off with just like an idea of, usually when I make like one chord, it usually inspires me to, like, it immediately gets my brain inspired and gets my brain creative to make like a second chord and then a melody on top. there's no real rules I'm following in terms of like composition or music theory. I did not make any more chill synth or electronic synth stuff before Paradise. Is doing visual arts a big source of inspiration? Yep. I love watching movies. I love looking at art. I bought 2 books, which are here, which I can show. So these are art books. The first one is The Art of NASA, which has a whole bunch of like concept art from back in the 60s and 70s. And this is like the stuff they had to do in order to like get funding from Congress. Because they didn't really have CGI the same way we have now. So they had to like hire and commission art from artists in order to convince like the politicians to actually fund the missions that they wanted to do. And there's some really, really great stuff in here. Sometimes I just keep this book open next to me when I'm making music. I just love that like old looking like space art and concept stuff. This one is really cool. Let's see if I can get it. So that book is really, really cool. And then I have a very similar one to that one, but this one is from Star Wars, because I'm a big Star Wars fan. And that just has a bunch of concept art from Star Wars and some of the Star Wars games and stuff. So I love looking at visual art to like inspire the music. I think most of the times they can go hand in hand. I do make my own artwork sometimes. I'm not really good at it, but I am planning on actually doing it a bit more. Let's take a look. How do you structure a song with good flow? We'll have a look at that in a second. Love to know how to typically use delay and heavy reverb when I'm doing a mix. We'll have a look at that in a second as well. I never fall asleep watching movies. I don't know where you got that idea. Mastering, mixing techniques, we'll have a look at that again. My electricity bill, I don't pay my electricity bill, my parents do. How do collabs work? It depends on what you use in terms of software. If you use Ableton, you can kind of share like a Dropbox or a Google Drive folder to like sync up a project. And I think even if you use something like Splice, one of my friends, Gosbury, used this where you can like share projects between people via Splice, so that's really cool. And then somebody asks about when an album is coming, and yeah, I think I'm working on an album. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I have actually a lot of songs ready right now, so I might actually push for an album, which would be really cool. What other types of music and genres do you listen to? We can actually have a look. Recently a new drum and bass song came out that I really liked. So that stuff is really cool. I listen to a lot of like house songs. This is really cool. This is really cool. And then Giorgio Moroder a while back. Really cool stuff. Then we have some. Oops. Oh, okay. Spotify is taking. Is shitting the bed. I need to open this again. Okay. Some dead noise, obviously, because dead noise is really cool. Noisia obviously I have Noisia song, Supersonic is really cool. As long as usually when it's electronic music, I don't really care too much about the genre. This one is really cool. I don't actually listen to too much chill wave or chill synth when I'm just like casually listening to music. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the project file from the new song, and then I'm going to completely remake it from the beginning. And what I'll do is I'll play it on loop, and then I'm gonna go to the toilet because I really need to go piss. So I'm gonna do that. This is not the project. Oh, it's still loading, I think. Yep, this is it. So we just need to get rid of those songs. I'll be right back. So let's see, how am I gonna do this? Oh, what I'll do is I'll make a new project and then I'll just open it up here again, and then I can have both of those. Yeah, the toilet is really close to my room, so I can just pop in and out really quickly. Is it actually doing something? Yep, it is opening. Regarding software synths, do you generally use your own presets or from other producers or make synths from scratch? Usually, I do make my synths from scratch because I don't find the sound design in Voyage songs to be too difficult to do. What you'll see me doing a lot is I use Mini V religiously, and then what I'll do is I'll use presets from other synths. So if I want to have like a pad, I'll just go and open up, I don't know, Profit or OBXA, and then just pick out a preset there. But Mini V is where I do most of my sound design these days. I did wash my hands, by the way, so I was just really quick. So usually before I start, I want to kind of have an idea of the tempo. The tempo might change while I'm making the song, but it's just kind of immediately gives me like a point of like to start off with. So I can just kind of go in and say, okay, this song needs to be a little bit more calm, and then by knowing it's going to be calm, that immediately kind of puts me in a bit of a direction, I guess. So in this case, I started off with the chords, which is what I usually do, and I'm gonna open up the project file here and just have a look so I don't get too distracted by doing too many different things. Let's see which scale this is actually in. Okay. Oh, that's really nice. That's really cool to hear. So it was. Now I forgot because I'm an idiot. Okay, so we're in B minor. So usually, what I do is I like to look at chords in like a in 3 parts. It's like you have the bass, for example, here. And then you have kind of the body of the chord, and then you have like the top end. And usually I start off with like the top and low bass, and then I add kind of the body and most of the harmonics afterwards. So for this one, I think we're going to use Jupiter 8, the VST. I'm going to make a new preset, and I'm just going to have this chord kind of play a little bit. I'm not going to be using this chord, I think. This one sounds cool. This would be like, if I start a new song, this would be like a starting point. So I'm just going to make a really quick... Whoops. I'm just going to make a really quick preset. I think I was using... Let's see, let's make this a bit bigger here. Whoops. Okay, so we're just going to be using the saw wave. In my opinion, the Jupiter 8 VST is like really good if you want to do like saw wave sound design, like if you want to make chords or arps or leads or whatever. I think this is a really great VST. I have to drink so much water. So much fucking water. Talking this much really hurts my throat after a while. But I'm staying hydrated. Hold on. This looks different. Oh, it wasn't a Jupiter 8, it was a Juno. Jesus, I'm dumb. There you go. Is there a specific reason why you use Jupiter instead of other popular synths like Serum or Vital? The main reason why is because this kind of music, it kind of needs to sound a little bit like hardware stuff, like analog stuff, right? And when you have a synth like this, like immediately out of the box, you get that like hardware emulation. So if that's really important to your music, then I don't want to waste time going in Serum or Vital and making it sound analog on my own, because then I'm just wasting time, in my opinion. With these kinds of instruments, you immediately get that like hardware sound out of the box without you actually having to do anything. And that, to me, just it saves a lot of time. I don't really need synths like Serum or Vital anymore, because it has so many features that I don't actually want or need in a synthesizer anymore. So that's why I like using these kinds of synths. Let's take a look. So by default, it's a saw wave. What I like to do with my songs these days is I like to detune them with the tuning. So I like to tune them to 430 Hz in this case. So let's take a look. And then let's take a look. So we're just gonna make like a really generic saw chord. So really low frequency. We're going to increase the envelope quite a bit. 200 here, I think. Cool. Let's add some release. A little bit of release. A long decay. And here, I think sustain seems to be all the way down. A little bit of attack, and that just kind of gives us this. Just quite a simple sound. And then I'm going to use an effect chain. It's called Too Many Effects. This is kind of it's a bit insane. I wouldn't really do this these days anymore. But it's literally just 3 multi-band compressors after each other, and then that's running through a tiny bit of flanging, an EQ that's taking out like that bottom low end, bottom middle frequencies, running through Soothe a tiny, actually quite a lot actually. Just to kind of low pass it a bit. But we can do without Soothe, I think, and that's running through a compressor. So without the effects, and then with the effects. So if you want to copy this chain, that's fine. It's literally just a standard delay, standard reverb, going through a bunch of compression. And that just makes it sound really... It just gives me a... It gives me a really good delay and reverb, and just and generally the compression processing that I am looking for. So using a preset like this one that I made is like really quick and easy. I can get results, and then that means that I can continue to make to do the actual songwriting, which in my opinion is the most important part. So if I'm making a chord progression like this, for example, I will, try to figure out a chord to start off with. What's a chord that sounds like? What's a chord that really resonates with me? And then I basically try to find that. I like using the scale feature in Ableton because I don't know anything about music theory, so this helps me immensely. Let me take a look at these. Okay, so I seem to have started off here, kind of. How do you come up with a groove? I love playing with delay. So if I have like you can kind of change the timing of the delay. So now that delay is sounds like it has this tempo, and then if it immediately sounds different. Right, so if I put it at 2, then what I could do is I could, for example, do this. Just a really simple groove. And now you have that delay rhythm that's kind of playing with the rhythm of the attack of the chords, and that just immediately gives you kind of like a cool groove. And then if you change it to 3, then I would probably do something like this. Maybe. I don't know. I really love playing with kind of like the delay with the reverb. It just makes my life a little bit easier, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm gonna lower that note a little bit. Seems to be fine. Do you like using delays directly on the synth rather than with a return channel? Yeah, usually. I never actually used return channels. Like, maybe in some songs. But to me, just I like focusing on like sounds very specifically. And when I use return channels, I can't really do that. I need to kind of like, can I really change this delay or this reverb on this sound, because that's going to affect all the other sounds as well. So return channels, I don't really use them that much, to be honest. So when I listen to this, like this, it doesn't sound interesting. When I add these 3 notes, immediately sounds a lot more interesting to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to duplicate this, and then I think this was what the delay was. Let's have a look. Bloop. Yep. Okay. Okay, cool. So now I kind of want to try to find like a bit of a rhythm, a bit of a groove, I guess. So I'm just going to duplicate this. I think it's like this. Okay. Oops. Let's increase this one, and then we go back to 3. To me, that's kind of an interesting rhythm, so that's what I'll stick with. Just want to say, your music is epic. Cheers for the tunes. First time I've got you live. No problem, dude. And thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the stream. So usually, if I'm not sure where the chord progression needs to go, I try focusing on the bass notes, the root notes. So let's put them up once. And then this like immediately set, like, to me, my brain is just saying like this needs to go up now. Like these notes need to go up. So that's what I'll do. I'll just have this one follow the root note. It's the same one. When I'm not sure what to do, I just if I have the scale feature turned on, I just put them up like 2 steps. So 1 2 1 2 and 1 2. Now let's duplicate this because we want to have just a bit more variation in this. Oops. I think what I did is I just turned this up. I don't think that's correct. Let me have a look. I think I need to go up one more. Is it like this? Maybe? I feel like maybe this one needs to go here. What I like doing a lot with like melodies and chord progressions as well is just gonna have a nice flow. So especially in the high notes, let's take a look. Just focus on the high notes. You can kind of see there's like a flow where it's like these notes aren't like here. They're not jumping too high or too low. They're kind of nice next to each other or very close to each other. If I take off the scale, you can see that there's just they're really close to each other, and to me that sounds really, really cool because it sounds really natural. I think it's kind of got to do with it's sounding like it like you can kind of sing along to it, and that automatically, to me, especially if I hear a melody that I can sing along with, that automatically resonates with me a lot more. I don't really know why, but I think that's the main reason why a lot of like pop music, for example, is very like resonates with so many people because it's so easy to sing along to. Okay, that's a lot nicer because this kind of felt like it jumped from up and then down and then to like the middle. Oh, I think what's going on is that there's just too many notes in the chord. I don't think the Juno has enough voices. I think the Juno has 6 voices and I had 7 notes, so that's why we need to get rid of that one. It's called Juno 6, so it probably has 6 voices. I really like how like this portion of the chord progression is like constantly the same chord. It's almost kind of hypnotic in a way. But I don't want to repeat that in here, because then I think it's going to sound too repetitive. So what I like to do here is, you know, maybe take like the second half of this, and then take those down a little bit. Which means I have to go back to the bass notes and check out which note I want, which root note I want. So let's go down a little bit, maybe here. That sounds nice. To me, that sounds really cool. Maybe this to kind of get it to go back a bit more. Okay, let's enable all these again. I think that needs one more. Yeah, that sounds a bit, that really connects quite nicely. And then I'm just gonna take those. And I'm just gonna do the same thing we did here, where we just take 2 steps up every time. And I love Ableton for adding the scale feature, because I would have never been able to come up with this if it wasn't for the Ableton scaler. So this like, for me, this is like a strong start. Like, this immediately resonates with me. It's a cool sound. There's some effects on there already. I'm not going to be bothered with processing it too much right now, because that's not what I'm trying to do now. Now I'm trying to kind of come up with a cool vibe, a cool melody, cool songwriting, instead of, you know, going into insane detail on like the production. So I'm just going to go back to my MIDI, a second MIDI layer, sorry, and I'm going to maybe use Prophet for an ARP. So when it comes down to making an ARP, what I usually like to do, just to make it a little bit easy for myself, is use an arpeggiator. And I'm going to make a new MIDI channel. And what I'm going to do is, instead of having the chords repeat, I'm just going to make the chords really long. That way the arpeggiator has enough time to kind of like run through all the notes, instead of having to repeat all the notes all the time. Oops. So I'm just going to make them a bit longer. There you go. Otherwise it sounds like that. So let's put that on the new MIDI channel. Nope. Oh yeah, I'm just going to enable the scaling. That's probably going to make my life a bit easier. Whoopsies. This maybe? Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, this MIDI layer is doing the arpeggiator, so I'm going to go to my Prophet, and I'm going to take the MIDI notes from the second MIDI, and I'm just going to record them. So normally what should happen is just start recording the arpeggiator into the new MIDI layer. So this isn't tuned yet, so then we'll just make a new preset, and I'm just gonna do like a really standard so up maybe. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of those lower notes. I don't really feel like it needs it, and this also just kind of makes the rhythm just a little bit more interesting, other than just going up and down all the notes. Let's make like a very generic sounding so up. I'm gonna take the one from the other project, just gonna copy and paste it. So ups are quite easy, just a little bit of resonance, and then just increase the amount. And then the attack a little bit. Let's add some release. And then I'm going to, not a delay VST, but just a standard delay from Ableton. I'm going to increase the volume a bit. I'm going to use a reverb from Ableton. You know, again, if I want to change these, I'll do that later. That's not what I'm focused on right now. I just want really quick results, so I can continue with the music stuff. And then I'm gonna be really cheap and just add an OTT. And I think that was mostly it. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that, I think. Okay, so basically the problem with this melody right now is that it follows like the exact chords, right? It's not really that interesting. So I want to, the reason why I recorded the arpeggiator or the arp in the first place is so that I'm able to go in and change some of the notes and put them in different positions. So what I want to do, especially in like the end of this 2-bar loop, is I want to make this part just a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna focus on that. Let's take a look at the whole context of like the loop. What if I did this? Let's actually add a kick, just like really quickly, just a kick. Just so I have kind of like a something to base the tempo of. Yeah, on Apple Music, I still need to sort that out. There's some Voyage isn't really like the most original artist name, I guess. So there's some other people that call Voyage, and Apple just kind of messed up some of that stuff. So sometimes you'll find music that's not mine on Apple Music, but it's on the same profile. I still need to contact my distributor to fix that. I haven't really gone around to it yet. But yeah, those aren't my songs. I think if you want like the most accurate discography of mine, then check out my Spotify and Bandcamp. All the songs that I released are correct on those two platforms. But yeah, what I did here with like a little bit like a different melody. Oh, that's so cool. You use Beyond as an alarm. Well, some people tell me that my music puts them to sleep, so I don't know if that is a good idea. I'll put that there, I think. I'm just trying to look at what I did on the earlier project file and just kind of. Why use audio clips for drums and stuff as using sampler? I've always done it this way. I don't really know why. I've gotten so used to this workflow. I love the idea of being a little bit more detailed with my gigs, where I can just I can go in here and I can make this one a bit shorter, and then lower the volume a bit, and you have so much control over individual samples compared to the sampler. So if you, for example, want to add like a bit of a, I guess a ghost gig is what it would be called. You can do something like this. Oh. It's really quick and easy. I don't know. To me, it just gives me so much more control over my drums, and I've gotten so used to this workflow that doing it this way is probably a lot faster than actually doing it with a sampler. But there's some instances where I have actually used a sampler though. I'm gonna go back to this, I think. Oops. I'm gonna repeat this melody here, I think. Yeah, something like this, I think it would. Yeah, using FL Studio really doesn't make you a noob. Some of the best producers that I know use FL Studio. Look up Imanu. Imanu makes insanely good music, and he uses FL Studio. So you should never be ashamed of using FL. It's a really powerful DAW. Actually, I'm going to use the Moog for this. I have a Moog My Truck, which is up there. I'm going to be using that one. I do need to tune them though. To tune the synth, maybe. We'll have a look. Seems like it's tuned correctly already, so let's have a look. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and replicate the preset I did earlier. So I'm gonna just put that here on the screen next to me, and then let's have a look. Oh, it's doing double notes. There you go. Wait, is this even the bass that I'm looking at? Bass. Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. Whoopsies. Okay, let's do that one again. Let's increase the volume a bit because I can't really hear it that well. This needs to be an octave higher. I like this. It's a bit loud now, but we'll fix that. With the bass, it's kind of following the notes of the chord, which is nice and all, but it's just a little bit boring this way. So I like to just kind of put in some extra notes here and there. I think maybe here. And then in here, this is something like one of my favorite producers is Culture Shock, and he does this a lot in his music where he like at the end of like 2 bars or 4 bars, he like goes up in pitch a bit. There's something that he does a lot. It's done in a lot of music, to be honest, but I mean, I'm a big Culture Shock fan, so I'm gonna try and replicate it. Something like this, maybe. And I'll do that again here. And I'm going to change it to this. Cool. Let's take this down a bit, and then watch out. I don't know if this is going to be loud, but I'm just going to put a Pro L. Okay, so I'm going to increase the volume a bit. And then I'm going to take out the bass notes from the chords, because we don't need those anymore. Let's take a look at the image. Okay, so I might need to decrease the right channel a bit. Decrease the left channel. Yeah, let's get that in the middle. It's a bit too plucky for me, so let's change that. So it's kind of got some mid-end going on, quite like that. So this is when I might start labeling things. This is like the point where I'm like, okay, this is cool. I want to keep working on this. Let's make it a bit easier for me to work on it by just correctly labeling things. And that means using different colors as well. Bass is always red in my project files. Oops. And then I'm gonna group all of this and just call it music. And then I will start adding drums. So a drum machine that I really like is the Lindrum, and there's a VST called VP-ROM, which is pretty much just a Lindrum emulation. It sounds really cool. They've used this on the new album from The Weeknd, actually. So let's look for the gig. Should be here somewhere. There it is. And there it is. This is a really cool sounding drum kit. And the main reason I like it is because when you actually look at the snare from actually I have to go into my drum machine folder, and then visual hits, snare, original, clean. I don't know, maybe this one. The problem with the drum kit, and I'm not sure if this is done intentionally or not, but there's kind of like this attack on the snare. There's just this little bit of attack, and then when you take a look at the kick, that's in the kit. It also has a tiny bit of attack, but it's much shorter, and it means they don't line up. And then when you play them together, they kind of sound like a double transient that's going on. You know, if you line them up, that's going to sound different. Kind of has that delayed effect on it, which sounds really cool. And then one of the things I did a while back is take samples from this drum machine, the kick and the snare, and then I just I processed them a bit with some EQ and some compression and stuff. And so I have my own LM1 Lindrum samples. So we've got the kick here, and then we have the snare. The snare. Let's see if they line up. This is cool. Let's call this drums. Let's label it with a different color. Cool. And let's add 2 hi-hats. And I'm gonna take the hi-hats from maybe drum tracks. Close hi-hats. And I'm going to make them a bit much shorter actually. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate them here, but I'm going to make them much lower in volume. This is going to give it a little bit more speed, kind of. And then just to kind of make sure, like, to kind of start of, like, do these drums actually sound good with the music? I'm going to put a compressor on the, oh, it's already on the correct channel, on the music channel. And I'm just going to do a really quick sidechain to the kick, which is channel 6, something like this. So the music is a bit loud compared to the drums, so good night, Jasmine. Hi-hats maybe a bit loud. Okay. this a bit. Okay, I love how these two kind of work together. And then obviously I want to start actually composing the song. So I'm gonna start off maybe with the chords. Oh, I just got rid of everything else. Whoops. Just put that here. And I'm not gonna introduce the full like loop yet. So for the intro, we'll just keep it simple. So, like I said earlier, I love using different, like, these kinds of synths, but just use presets. I really like this pad preset. So again, this gives me a really quick result, so I can, again, continue to actually, write the rest of the song. Okay. I can just copy this, I think. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it really wide. And then here's where I will introduce the drums, I think. But I don't want to introduce all of them yet, so I'm going to take out these. Cool. I'm going to use a really quick compressor just to kind of compress the drums a little bit. Cool. Let's add the bass in here, and then I want to add like a tiny melody in here just to kind of give it a little bit of variation in this part. And maybe I want to put some modulation on the decay just to make it a little bit more present in here. Make a different lead to go on with it. Oopsies. Okay, that seems correct. Make sure the tuning is done correctly. That here. Okay, so I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the notes from here, and I'm mainly going to focus on these. And I want a bit of variation here, so I'm going to reverse this and then just put them down a little bit like this. Let's have a listen. That's cool. I like that a lot. So we'll just add a delay, reverb. Gonna standard processing chain. I think I'm gonna raise them in pitch. Go up. Yeah, I like that. This is where I think, yeah, these hi-hats need to come in. So that's kind of how I start off, and this kind of gives me a good idea of where the song goes. I've already introduced a little bit of variation. We got the intro, which kind of has, you could say, 2 variations. So this is where you can start labeling things. You can start adding locators. I like doing locators like this, where you call something 1 and then 1.2. It's still part of the intro, which is number 1, but it's a slight variation, so I call it 1.2, and then this is where number 2 starts, and then we have no variation here at all, and then this is a completely different part, so we'll call that 3, for example. And then if I would continue to keep working on that project, it would end up in what I showed earlier. And I'll go, actually there's nothing much jump going on. Resonance here, which I don't want. There's a little bit of modulation going on in the notes here, where some notes are like more accentuated than others. This is kind of where I open the song up a little bit more. This is where the ARP melody from the from this part comes in, and then also this counter melody here in the first part. And everything here is working together, and then on top of the main chords, I'm now adding like even more chords basically, and this kind of makes the chords sound a lot bigger. Add another mini V instance, and I'm just going to try and make a lead. Give it a bit of wobble. And then this is where I kind of experiment with the melody a bit. I haven't done this before, so this is completely new territory for the song. I think that's a bit much. And then at this point, what I would do is maybe a variation in the chord progression, which I already did beforehand. This is what I do here is I take the first two chords, which are the same, and then I start adding something that's a bit different. And then that could lead into like a second part of the song that on its own sounds a bit different. And that kind of keeps people's attention a bit. Makes it not, too repetitive after a while. That's kind of how I start songs. And then this could go on for, I don't know, maybe like a week or something, where I'll just go and constantly add things, and that's where, the fine-tuning of all the details comes in. All of this stuff that you see here can be done in like an hour or two, and then most of the work follows afterwards. I'm not going to go and do more now, because I'm also getting a little bit tired. It's getting late for me. So I'll just close the stream. I do want to say thank you. I saw at one point there were like 42 people here, so I'm very happy with people showing up. There were a lot of people in here for the first time. A lot of people have followed the stream as well, so I just want to... 42 people, yeah. I think that was peak. So I'm very happy with that. That's great. It's a bit more than I expected. I thought it was going to be like 25 people, but this is really cool. So again... answer to life, the universe, and everything. Yeah, true. So thanks everyone for coming. I hope you found it informative. And if not, that's fine too. You can rewatch the stream on my channel normally. If not, you can probably find it on YouTube. At some point, there's a YouTube channel. I'll just really quickly show you. Let's see. I think it's called Voyage Thoughts. Yeah. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Voyage Thoughts, then you see that these are past streams I've done. The first one I did 2 years ago, so quite a while. I mean, people are still here. If you want, soon you can buy my cassettes, which is great. This is the first time we're doing a physical release, so that's awesome. These are going to be released next month, so you can check my Twitter for that. I'm also doing a vinyl release, actually. I'm not going to go too much more into detail on that, but that's coming. I know a lot of people are waiting for that. I think that's pretty much it. But thanks again for coming. I enjoy doing these. This one was a bit longer than normal, I think. Plan on getting one because that's cool. It's gonna be only 50, so if you want one, you should probably get one. I don't know if we're gonna do them again. I don't think we will. So if you want one, you need to be fast, I think. But cool. Thanks everybody for coming again. And I enjoyed this one quite a lot. Maybe I'll do another one soon. I don't know, maybe next month or something. So yeah. Thank you everybody for coming once again. And take care.